In this video, we'll learn to manage embroidery designs, and that can be anything from opening and saving designs to converting them and exporting them into different formats. And of course, we'll learn to use our librarian so that we can browse for embroidery designs. And we'll primarily focus on two toolboxes: the Output Design toolbox and also the Manage Designs toolbox. So notice now that I've clicked on the Manage Design toolbox that here in the center part of our screen we have a browser window that shows us embroidery designs and shows us our embroidery library and gives us the ability to browse through our computer. And once we've switched into this Manage Designs mode, notice that here at the top our toolbars have changed to reflect the tool that we're using at the moment. So yes, we still have new and open and cut, copy, and paste, but this toolbar here, this is specific for the Manage Designs tab. And the first one is called Show Folders, and basically if you click on it, it'll hide the folders, thereby showing more designs on your screen, and when you want to see the folders, you can just turn it back on. The second one is for the view, and so right now you can see if I click and hold it, I'm set on large icons. If I change it, let's say medium icons, obviously you get smaller icons and more of them. And if you choose to something like a details view, you're going to see the name of the design and the date that it was last modified and the width and the height, the number of stitches. So more of a detailed view. Anyway, you get to choose how you want them displayed. If you choose extra large icons, they'll be show more detail. You just see less of them at one time. Anyway, you choose what you like, but I usually go with large icons as my favorite browsing way. Now, the rest of the toolbar here is about, I guess, grouping the designs that you see or sorting them or filtering them. And so, for example, right now they're grouped by name. What I'm looking at is grouped by name. If I drop this menu down, I can group them by folder. I can group them by file type. I can group them by the date they were recorded or the date they were not recorded but created or modified. So if I change to, let's say, file type, then it'll put them with all the EMB files together and all the DST files together, whatever kinds of embroidery designs you might have. If I change it to folder, then it'll sort them out based on the folders. Now, the folders, just studying the folder view here, we're clicked right now on Embroidery Library. So these are the designs that are in your embroidery library. Most of them are in your embroidery library, same as mine. There's a few here that are my designs, because you can add designs to your embroidery library, and I'll show you that in a minute. But the idea here is, of course, now anytime there's a triangle, you can click on it to expand it. So I have my embroidery, and then I have public embroidery. So my embroidery, this is going to be where you'll put the designs that you're working on, or what you've created. Public embroidery, well, these are the designs that came with the software, and here there's a folder for design or digitizer version 5, and when I plus that open, all kinds of different folders that are available. And so what you can see here is if I click on the word designs, it'll show me all of the designs and from sorted by folder. Let's just change it again. Let's go with file type. So it shows me all the designs sorted by file type that are under designs. In other words, all of these subfolders get displayed when you click on the top folder. Yeah, so you can sort your designs out this way, and notice that there are designs that come from professional design suppliers like OESD, Sonia Showwater, or Stitchitize. And my version of the software is still one of the, I guess, beta testing versions, and I understand there may be more design sets in the future with the customer release of the software. So we'll see. I'll look forward to seeing what gets added. But so that's the designs folder. Now there's also a monograms folder and a projects folder. And so let's just open up projects. So for example, projects, and I'll click on the word projects. These are all designs that were used in projects that came from the help menu. And when you click on help and, for example, choose projects, it opens up a web browser, and it goes through the internet, and it shows you, specifically in this case, the projects. But this is where all of the release notes and, I guess, online help, printed help files are found within this one web page. And so yeah, if you click on, for example, embroidery bookmark, and then it's going to show you, that project, and here's the design, and then you come back. So I'll just close this now. And that's the design that they were talking about in that project. So yeah, lots of interaction between the My Designs library and the help window. So that's one of the great improvements with version 5. Now, let's so that's browsing your library. And by your library, basically the software keeps track of these folders. So if you add things to them, and you can even add folders to your library, you can use Find Embroidery Designs, and it'll search through your computer and look for folders that might have designs like this one that I've made for version 5 designs. And I'll just click on that and say Add to Library. And so notice now here in I'm just going to unzip these. So look, we have 3 folders now at the root level of Embroidery Library: the My Embroidery folder, Public Embroidery folder, and this new folder that I just made called version 5 designs. And so the idea is, if I was to put, maybe you've got a favorite stock design supplier that you buy from, and if you always put their designs into that same folder, they'll automatically show up in your embroidery library when you sort through your embroidery library. So yeah, now let's browse down beyond the embroidery library to this PC. So this is going to be where you can expand this and see the actual folders of your computer. So it's possible to have, a design set on a DVD or on a folder on your computer that aren't necessarily in your library, so to speak. And so, yeah, if I've got an external hard drive here, you can even view an external hard drive. So I'll click that open, and you see that it's, it gives me the ability to look through that drive. And these are the folders from my Digitalk classes. And there's lots, as you can see, I've done a lot of Digitalk classes. And each one of these classes is going to have whatever was in it that I was working on. So if I click on one of the more recent classes, it'll show me the contents of what I guess we worked on during that class. And I know in 26D we worked on these neat color blending designs, so whatever you would. Now, once you find something that you like, you can open it by choosing here Open Selected. And that's going to basically open that design. And notice that it creates a tab for it. So we still have our Design 1 tab, and we still have the My Designs tab. And every time you click on the My Designs tab, it automatically opens up the Manage Designs toolbox and changes your toolbars. If I click back on the color blending design, then that Manage toolbox closes and I go back to my standard sort of default toolbars. Yeah, so I'm coming back to my library, and I guess the difference between browsing these folders. So these folders, I would have to browse to them each time I wanted to see something from them. And if I want to, I can just zip that back up and clean this up. But the idea is, with the library, if I add designs to this folder, it'll automatically be in my library. So if we, for example, go on to this color blending, and from here, if we wanted to, we could save it. So I'm going to choose File and Save As. So notice here that a lot of the options in this File drop-down menu are also found in this Manage Designs toolbox. For example, Open, New, and this is New from Selected. So that's interesting. Let's browse into our public embroidery library and look at the stitchetized designs. Click on a design. Now, I can click on Open Selected, as we did with the color blending, but if I say New from Selected, notice what happens. It actually creates a new design tab. So this is one way that you can create a new version of a design. You open it up, and instead of opening it up, you create a new design based on that. So it brings in all the objects of the design and the colors and the information, but it gives you a new design window where you could now do whatever modifications you want and not alter the original. So if you had, if this design was originally on black shirts and now we were going to put them on red shirts and we needed to change the color of something, then we could save this as, the Christmas scene for the red shirts, so whatever. And when you're ready to save the design, it'll give you the ability to choose where on your computer. So if I, the folder that I mapped to my library was on my C drive. It was this one here, version 5 designs. It had that 2 designs in it. If I save it in here, and so we'll call it, I don't know, just to be quick, Xmas, 1 or something. You can call them obviously anything you want, but I'm going to save it into that folder. So by nature, because I saved it to that folder, when I go back to my Manage Designs again, and I click on My Embroidery, and I look at, the public or the embroidery library in general, I guess, because that shows me everything from the My Embroidery folders to the public embroidery folders. Anyhow, obviously this design is now managed. So it just helps you keep track of things, basically. The difference between the embroidery library and this PC is the convenience of finding things. So yeah, so that's the browsing, and we'll just continue talking about managing designs. So now let's look at how we can use these tools here to filter the results of our embroidery searches. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look on my PC. On my desktop, I have a copy of my Embroidery Spectacular DVD, and there's 12 folders here. And so if I go ahead and just open up, the folder for class number 12, and then you see all the different topics or subfolders, and I'll pick out this Sunbonnet Girls folder and show you all the designs. So the idea here is there's several designs of different girls, and they're all in different formats. So you could use these tools to filter that. So for example, if I just wanted to see all outline files, so EMB or ART or JAN, then it'll show me just specifically those ones. So I've got some EMB files and some JAN files. If I wanted to just see the EMB only, I can filter it to that. Or if I only wanted to see the JEF files, I could see what I have for JEF files. So basically these are filters that you can use, and when you click on a new folder, it kind of resets it. So for example, if I come up here and click on the Embroidery Spectacular folder number 2, so now it's, the filters have been reset, so I can see all formats again. And just as an example, here in the class number 2, I did a segment with my friend Celine Ross from École de Couture in Montreal, and she always contributes to my class, this Embroidery Spectacular class. And in this class, we have a folder with the design, which was a cutwork design that she did on a beautiful kind of like a back of a dress. And these are the photos. So not only can this see embroidery files, but this will show you JPEG pictures. So you can see in here the slides from my class. You can see that there's a video to watch. And so the idea is it can not only show us embroidery designs, but other types of files when we browse our computer. But if you're looking into something like these photos and you choose to filter it to EMB files, well, then obviously it won't show them. If you go into the Designs tab and say, well, just show me, all machine formats or all embroidery formats, it'll change the view. Yeah, now you can add folders that are from your computer into your library. And so if it doesn't get found with using the Find Embroidery Designs, you can just simply choose Add Folder to Library. And in this case, you would actually need to use your browser to kind of find that folder. So I'll just go back up. Here's on my desktop. And then there's the Embroidery Spectacular DVD folder. And so if I wanted to, I could have, we could map the whole CD to the library. Or if I specifically wanted to get just the project with Celine, I can choose that folder and say Add to Library. And now this folder's been added to the library. And if I just look at the Browse My Library and scroll through, we should find those cutwork lace designs have been added to our library, and they're in their folder. So yeah, that's a little bit more about, I guess, using the Manage Designs tab. And before we kind of finish up with Manage Designs, we also want to look at using how to save and output your designs. Okay, so before I move on to the Output Designs toolbox, just a couple more things I wanted to show in this Manage Design toolbox. And first of all, we just added this folder to our library from the projects with Celine, and if I want to, I can remove that. So just as easily as you can add a folder, you can choose to remove a folder from your library. And so those are the buttons to add and remove folders. And of course, this is how you can ask your software to try and find the designs that have folders in your computer. So we've shown all that now, and this is something new here, export design list. And so notice right now I just have a folder selected and has these 3 designs in it. If I choose export design list, it brings up a save as window, and it's going to create a text file, just a simple file that will include all the details for these designs, and it's going to call it design list. Of course, I could change the name to whatever I want. I'm just going to save it onto my desktop. Now it says it's been successfully exported, and although we don't open text files per se with our digitizer software, we can still use this to browse to our desktop and then find that here we have the file design list. Now look, if I right click on it, I can choose to open it with a notepad, and then it'll open up my notepad and show me. This is basically what it's done, is save the name and the date and the format and the design information and the number of stitches. And so if you were a professional designer, that would be a way you could export design details for use in a database. Perhaps more useful is convert selected designs. So let's go back on Embroidery Library, and then notice here's the option, convert selected designs. Now we'll need to have at least one design selected to be able to use this tool. Now I'm going to select multiple designs. I'll just hold down my control key on my keyboard and click on these 3 and this one and this one and that one, or whatever files you choose that you want to do this converting to. So imagine you've got a DVD and you need to convert all the designs into your Janome format, or maybe you're a professional designer and you've made some designs and you want to convert them into multiple formats to distribute them to your, when you're selling them. So this is the tool here, convert selected designs. And the first thing is, it wants me to tell it where am I saving it. So if I browse, it allows me to browse the folders of my computer. I'm just going to put this on my desktop. And why don't we create a new folder for this and call it today. Today. And then hit enter and just make sure that I've got that today selected and say OK. And see up here, I can see it's going into desktop/today. And then you can choose what formats you want by just checking them on and off. So we've got Jeff and PES and VIP, Singer, XXX, EXP, DXT, whatever. You can add any number that you want. And when you say convert, it goes through and you can see it now working. And it's just very quickly converting the 6 designs that we selected into 6 or 10 more formats of each of them. So now I can see that it's done. It says the conversion is completed successfully, and you may sometimes get a warning here that says things like design whitework dove was too big to be saved to the hoop for Jeff format or something like that. And so if you have any errors, you'll be warned. Otherwise, you know that it's been good, and if it's successful, then you can be pretty confident that if we go and look now at our desktop, let's see, what's the folder called today? Here are all the designs that we just made in a bunch of different formats. So that is basically one way to convert designs to different embroidery formats. And so it's called convert selected designs. Now, you also have here in the Manage Designs toolbox the ability to print the selected design. So if you select a design and then you want to print a list, and I can click on print selected, and it's going to show me the printer information. And if I click OK, it's going to obviously send right over to my printer. And we'll talk more about printing when we talk about the Output Designs toolbox. But just to kind of finish up with the Manage Designs toolbox, the last thing here was send the design to your machine or write it onto a card. So, and again, you simply select the design that you want to send, and you either send it directly to the machine or write it onto a card. And I've got a card on my computer, so I'll just choose Write to Card. And what it does is it opens that design, and it brings you up with the right design to card. So I would choose the format. So there's my card. Choose the folder. I could change its name if I wanted to, or if it's fine with this name, then I can just simply say Write, and boom, it's put that design onto my card. So that's everything in the Manage Designs toolbox, and I guess how you can use it to find and sort and filter through your designs. But still, we need to talk about output design. So when I go on output design, I'll no longer have the browser. So it's going to be specific to the design that we have selected. And so if I go on this Christmas design, then that's what I'm going to be outputting. Or if I go on the blended color design, then that's what I'm going to be outputting. And so here I have options like Save As, Export, and I'd like to explain the difference. We've got, again, the Send a Design to Machine or Write it onto the card. So that's found in both toolboxes. In fact, you'll find a lot of these tools are not only found in toolboxes, but a lot of times we can find similar options in our drop-down lists. You know, here we've got New, here we've got Open, here we've got Save, Save As, Export, you know, all of these different things, Print, Print Preview. Yeah, so in the output design, so let's just, for example, choose that little Xmas design. So if I choose Save As, this is different than choosing Save. Save simply saves it in the same place with the same name. If I choose Save As, it allows me to give this a new name. See, it's brought up the Save As box. I could change the name from Xmas 1 to be Xmas 2 or whatever it was. So, you know, Xmas for white shirts versus Xmas for red shirts. You have to give the names that mean something to you. But Save As means now I've created another version of this. So let's just test that out. If we go up to the Manage Designs tab, take a look at the V5 designs. So see, now I've created a new version of it. So that's kind of the difference here with the output designs and Save As versus just hitting Save, where it would have just simply overridden the original one. Now, Export design. So let's go on to another design. Let's go on to, for example, the Xmas design again. So export, instead of when we save and Save As, I'll just click that Save As one more time. The format options are basically going to be EMB or JAN. Those are our outline files, and I like the way they've separated this in version 5 because it's something that I've always had to really work to help people understand the difference between saving and exporting. And so now we've got a new name for it, Export Design. Before we could hit Save As and we'd choose the different formats. But what they're saying is saving is an outline format. And I've talked already about, you know, what's EMB format. So not in this video, but in the previous video we talked about that. But notice now that I've said export, now I can convert this to be the JEF or the SO or the PES or whatever. So if I want to save this as a JEF, and let's just choose where. So I'll go to my desktop. We'll look at the folder called, well, I had one on my C drive. That's where this folder was, this V5 designs. So let's just save it right in there. Save. So when I exported it, it gave me the ability to choose the machine formats. When I choose Save or Save As, it only gives me the ability to choose the outline formats, the Genome, you know, EMB or JAN formats. Okay, and now just to look back at our browse one more time, Manage Designs. So now if I look in that folder for V5, see, it's got a JEF and 2 EMBs that are basically all the same design. Okay, so let's just go back to output designs again. Just a couple more things and we'll be done with this video. So like I said, send a design to the machine, write it to a card. We've looked at that. So really the main things left to look at are print preview, print, and then the capture design image. So print preview, this one's important. There's a lot of control over this. So I turn on print preview and it shows me what it's going to look like. And it shows me 2 pages. I can look at it with 1 page or show me the next page or show me 2 pages side by side. And previous page. So what gets included on these pages is controlled by clicking on options. And here I have a checklist. So if I want to have, for example, this, all the settings here can be turned on. So for example, right now the design's being shown in its realistic true view. If I turn that off and say okay, it'll show us with the more of a computer view. It's just the single sort of thinner lines of a computer versus using the 3D true view option. So these are the kinds of things that you can change to include the hoop or not to include the hoop, to include the hooping sequence or the color sequence, and say okay. And notice now if I go back to that, we'll zoom out, we only have one page. I got rid of the whole second page by not having the color sequence and the hooping sequence displayed. I've got the design shown at 1:1. I could have it, enlarged to show it at a, fill my screen sort of thing. So these are the options, and you'll learn to use the options and when you want to include something like a cloth setter marking, or when you want to show your hoop, and when you want to show it at actual size, or whatever it may be. Yeah, so that's print preview, and obviously if I hit print now, it's going to send it to my printer, which would be, I guess, if I don't hit print preview and I just simply hit print, same thing. It's just going to go on whatever the last settings you used were. So if you're printing multiple things and you have the settings set the way you want them, you don't have to do the print preview. You can just simply go print, and it opens up your print dialog and says, I'm going to send it to your Samsung printer, Trevor. One more thing that I'd like to show you in the Output Designs toolbox is kind of a cool new feature called Capture Design Image. And so notice, whatever I have on my screen, if I choose Capture Design Image, it gives me some options, the whole design or the current window or custom. So define, draw a box to what you want to include. Do you want to include the background fabric or material? So this can be helpful if you've got a garment on your screen and you want that included, or a hoop. And then do you want to save it to your computer, or do you want to send this, have it be attached to an email? Me, I usually save it to my computer and then I attach it to an email myself, but yeah, save and send. So basically, I'm just going to say OK. And it wants me to save it. So let's click on my desktop and put it here. So ship A, and it's going to make a PNG file, and I'll just hit save. And so one more time, we're going to pop up and look at our Manage Designs toolbox, and we're going to look at the folder of my desktop. And so see here, the ship PNG file. So this is not an embroidery format. This is an actual image. This is something that you could use to, email to a friend, or post it on a web page, or use it in your spreadsheet or in your printed notes if you're making a class. And it does a nice job because I didn't choose to include the background or the hoop or anything. It's actually like a transparent image. So PNG, it has a transparent background, which makes it very nice for using with things like page making, where you can kind of overlap it over top of things and it shows the background. Anyway, cool new tool found on the Output Designs toolbox. So yeah, that's my video on managing embroidery designs. Save as, export, learn to browse for your designs, convert en masse, those sorts of things. And remember, a lot of these functions are also found in the drop-down menu. So even Capture Design Image can be accessed from this drop-down menu. Okay, look forward to the next video.